Dodge this.
This is Sparta!
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
Say hello to my new friend! Say what again?
I want to make him an offer, Captain.
Voice is strong.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gents, welcome to the 5th official episode of the BTG MovieCast. My name is Stephen Nagel and I am your host.
I'm your co-host, Dean Raval.
And what we do every month, once a month, for this particular podcast, we discuss the world of television and film. And we cover a major topic each month. Dean is going to take you through what this month's podcast will be all about.
Yeah, so this episode, we'll be looking at the recent casting rumors revolving around Captain Marvel, the latest sort of big budget blockbuster that is recently going to be released by Marvel. We'll also be looking at what we recommend, both myself and Stephen. Well, then we'll discuss the much broader discussion, which is going to be around Hollywood copycatting. We'll get more into that a little bit later.
Cool. So if you guys don't know who we are BTG Lifestyle, and we run a blog, which you can find at btglifestyle.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at BTG Lifestyle or at facebook.com/BTG Lifestyle. So, on to the casting news regarding Captain Marvel.
Yeah, so the big news that was released in the week is that Brie Larson, who you will remember from the movie Room, where she won the Academy Award for Best Lead Actress, she's been sort of rumored to play Captain Marvel in the film. Captain Marvel has been played, or rather hasn't been on screen in a live action film before. In the comics, she's had 4 characters, but this one will focus on sort of Carol Danvers, who was involved in the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as Jessica Jones. So she's quite important, especially where we are now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sure. And Brie Larson is the one that's kind of been the front runner, labeled the front runner for the role.
Yeah, I mean, there were lots of rumors going around. We had some of the heavy hitters that people had an eye on were Charlize Theron. And that's especially in the wake of Mad Max Fury Road, where she played a very strong female lead.
Absolutely. And also we're South Africans, so that's pretty cool.
Obviously rooting for Charlize.
Yeah.
Another one that was brought up just because of her presence in a movie like Edge of Tomorrow.
Correct.
Which is Emily Blunt. And Sicario as well, where she plays this character that's got this duality of being very strong but also very vulnerable at times.
Absolutely. Emily Blunt is a character or actress that I really like. I mean, I even touted her to be the next Wonder Woman before Gal Gadot was announced to play her. And I think she'll do a really great job. But I think she's probably third in line the way things are going for this role. But she's a fantastic actress, definitely.
Yeah. There was even a time when Ronda Rousey was rumored to play this role.
Exactly, yeah. I think that was more from her side than anything else. She was definitely campaigning quite hard on Instagram.
Sure.
And a few other places as well.
And it was the hype train from a big win.
Correct.
As well.
Yeah, but she's since fallen from grace.
Yeah, unfortunately. What are your thoughts on this casting rumor?
I think you can't deny the fact that it's probably in the wake of her winning the Academy Award for Room. She's definitely in the spotlight now. The same thing happened with Jennifer Lawrence and even Halle Berry when she won the Academy Award for Monsters Ball. She obviously followed up with Catwoman, and hopefully that's not a cautionary tale where this is concerned. I think it's well deserved. I think, well, at least the rumor that she should be in the running for it. I'm not sure how she'd do in a more physical kind of, because I mean Captain Marvel is a superhero. So, we'll obviously see how she maybe tests for it, if she is going to. Like we said, this is all rumors at the moment. Yeah. But apparently she is the front runner. She's on the official IMDb page, although she is labeled as being rumored. So it will be definitely interesting to see how that turns out. I'd like to see Charlize Theron in the role because
I would love that.
Because of what she did with Mad Max.
She's got that physical presence, and she might not be big, built, but she's got that formidable presence, that aura around her.
Absolutely.
When she's acting of dominance. And she's a great actress as well.
Sure.
She's also an Academy Award winner.
Exactly. So, she's definitely in good company where that's concerned. So we'll wait and see what gets released in the coming weeks. I mean, the film doesn't even have a director at the moment. So we'll just have to listen to what Kevin Feige says.
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing was what I've been noticing about the casting in superhero movies as well. They're not necessarily going for the physical stature of the character.
Correct.
Wonder Woman Gal Gadot, she is not built anything like the Wonder Woman from the comic books. And I mean, people might say, oh, that's a whole body image thing, but it's not. If you look at Chris Evans playing Captain America, he's buff as hell.
Yeah.
So is Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yeah.
So, and then you get Oscar Isaac on the other hand, who
Exactly.
plays Apocalypse, and he's a small little guy.
Yeah.
He was wearing platform shoes in the film.
Yeah.
So, it's just an interesting casting choice, and we'll just have to see how that pans out. I was rooting for Charlize Theron, but we'll see how it goes.
Just a note on that, the physicality thing being a big part of the role. I mean, people can always get buff. Gal Gadot put on muscle. So did Ben Affleck when he was cast as Batman. So, I mean, they probably looked at the acting more than anything else, but we'll see where it goes from here.
Cool. So that wraps up our news for this week, which is the casting news around Captain Marvel. So now we're going to move on to what we recommend. And Dean, you want to lead the way? What have you been watching?
So a TV series that I've been watching recently is Showtime's Billions. That has also been airing on Mnet Edge. Basically, it takes place in New York, and it's by Brian Koppelman and David Levian, who wrote Rounders and Ocean's 13. And they've also brought in Andrew Ross Sorkin, who's actually a New York Times reporter, and he wrote The Deal Book, which also looks at sort of the intricacies of Wall Street.
Oh, nice.
And Billions is pretty much about these two characters, Chuck Rhodes, who's a U.S. attorney, kind of a district attorney, and Bobby Axelrod, who's a hedge fund king. Chuck Rhodes is played by Paul Giamatti, which some of you will remember from shows like from movies such as The Amazing Spider-Man 2. He was also in where else is he?
Straight Outta Compton.
In Straight Outta Compton as well. So there's quite a bit of sort of good things happening in that role, or in sort of from that side. And then Bobby Axelrod is played by Damon Lewis, who was from Homeland.
Nice.
So it's a really good acting sort of prowess in the series, and it's pretty much about the attorney Chuck Rhodes trying to bring down Bobby Axelrod because of suspicions around his sort of dealings on the market.
Sure.
So you get this charismatic hedge fund king, and you've got this guy that's trying to bring him down. And there's a lot of intricacies in the actual story itself, because Chuck Rhodes, who's the attorney's wife, is actually employed by Bobby Axelrod as a kind of a performance coach, almost shrink kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of kind of intertwining there. And she's played by Maggie Siff. And then there's also Marlon Ackerman from Watchmen. She plays Bobby Axelrod's wife. And also David Costabile, who plays Wags, who's Bobby's number 2. A lot of you will remember him from Breaking Bad and Suits. He plays a really, really cool character, very sort of blunt and fresh off the cuff. And it's a lot of people are touting it as kind of Wolf of Wall Street meets The Big Short.
Oh, nice.
So it's a very clever, witty show. It kind of depicts the cutthroat, shady, deceitful underworld of the Wall Street market. So it's a very, very cool show. It's very enticing in that regard, and I'm looking forward to see where it wraps up. Season 1 has recently wrapped, but I'm sort of catching on a little bit. I'm only on episode 5, but we'll see. How it looks really good so far.
Cool.
So I definitely recommend that you watch that.
Check that out. Okay, that's nice. From my side, what I recommend you guys check out is X-Men Apocalypse, which is the latest film directed by Bryan Singer, who's been heavily involved in the previous X-Men films as well. The film stars Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, James McAvoy as Professor Xavier, and Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. There's also a bunch of new faces on the block. Sophie Turner plays Jean Grey in this one. Ty Sheridan plays Cyclops, and Cody Smith-McPhee plays Nightcrawler. So basically, this film came out a couple of weeks ago, and the critics kind of smashed it. And as it's proliferated, it got an international release before it got a US release.
Sure.
And if you go onto Rotten Tomatoes, for example, you see the critics' scores are pretty damn low compared to the audience scores.
Yeah.
And it seems like the audiences are not listening to the critics and they're actually enjoying the show. So I think it's a really good movie. It's really well put together. I think we've reached a stage in our collective consciousness where we almost expect this kind of Shakespearean story to come out of a comic book movie. And Apocalypse reminded me that you don't need that to make a good movie, to make a fun movie, to make an entertaining movie, and to make a movie that doesn't irritate you.
Yeah.
We saw as well with Batman vs. Superman, where the critics said, no, this is shit, and it actually ended up being kind of shit.
Yeah.
So that was unfortunate, but X-Men Apocalypse is good. Oscar Isaac is a formidable Apocalypse, not physically speaking because he's a small guy, but just in terms of the character's inherent abilities, which are kind of terrifying, as well as his acting abilities. I mean, he's brilliant. If you've seen him in Ex Machina, for example.
Absolutely.
Such a great actor. And then we have Michael Fassbender, who come on, this guy's just amazing.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that he has some amazing dramatic scenes as well. So look out for those. Another thing that really impressed me was the new generation of X-Men, who are quite good. And that's the new Jean Grey, the new Cyclops, and the new Nightcrawler, and the new Storm for that matter as well.
Yeah.
They are pretty well played by those characters. Ty Sheridan especially was a standout performance for me. He literally seems like the younger version of the Cyclops we've seen before.
Yeah, by James Marsden.
Exactly. So I love that there was that connection. We get another great Quicksilver slow motion scene.
As we should get.
Yeah,
from
exactly.
now
I
on.
won't explore that in more detail to spoil it for you guys. But look out for that. It's amazing once again.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out X-Men Apocalypse. It's currently playing at theaters around the world in IMAX and IMAX 3D as well, which is how I saw it. And talking about the tone of the film and people expecting a certain tone in superhero films, this leads us to the main discussion for this particular month.
Yeah.
And Dean, you want to just maybe elaborate on that a bit?
Absolutely. So, we were thinking about a topic to discuss for this podcast, and I read an article in the week that said that the recent Star Wars film Rogue One that's being shot is going to be doing reshoots to add some more scenes to the film. Initially, it was touted as adding some comedic elements to the film, which is also something we've seen being done with Suicide Squad in the wake of Batman vs. Superman being very somber and very broody. So we decided that it would be a good topic of discussion for this, to kind of look at this copycat syndrome in Hollywood and how they kind of almost make these gut-wrench decisions on things almost like it's something that is going to be the be-all and end-all of their movies. So, for instance, in 2005, when Batman Begins came out, and Christopher Nolan did a complete 180 to what happened before with Batman and Robin. And he had to be honest with you. Batman and Robin was silly. And he grounded it in realism. He made it an actual realistic film with some good dramatic acting.
Sure.
And ever since then, and ever since The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger as the Joker, it's become sort of an expectation that superhero films now should have at least a little bit of sort of broody, somber kind of darkness to it.
Sure.
We saw it trying to be replicated in Fantastic Four, not too much success. We've seen it in Man of Steel as well. And it's something that I feel isn't necessarily something that should be done. We shouldn't try to make a film like a completely another film just because we've had success with it before.
Sure.
We've seen it with the dystopian youth fantasies like Maze Runner, the Divergent series, Hunger Games, and Ender's Game. Where they make a film that's set sort of in the same grimy kind of universe, all because they think it's going to latch on with audiences. And it's not always the kind of home run that they're expecting. Sometimes it's a swing and a miss.
Sure.
So we're looking at that in terms of, the kind of comic book movie craze that's happening.
Sure.
It's kind of dark versus light. And you can't make a Batman vs. Superman film the way that it was made and expect to have the same kind of success, which it didn't have success at all with some of the other DC films. So, what are they trying to do? Well, basically they're trying to fix that as quickly as they can with reshoots, with other elements of the film that they could hopefully replicate some other success.
I mean, while we're discussing this as a broader topic, I think it's also important to note that it's Warner Brothers essentially that is kind of messing up in a big time in this way. Marvel's cinematic universe is actually doing fairly well. And it's almost impossible to not bring up the comparisons here, especially when you look at Batman versus Superman and Civil War coming out in the same year, which both put these major characters in each comic book universe against one another. So you get Captain America versus Iron Man and you get Batman versus Superman. And at the end of the day, it's difficult to not make that comparison between it being a studio thing.
Sure.
So I think essentially a lot of the downfall that we're seeing is coming from Warner Brothers Studios, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They have been for the last couple of years trying to replicate the brilliance that was constructed by Christopher Nolan with his Batman trilogy.
Yeah.
And essentially what happened was they distilled it down to a single element and they tried to replicate that and take that particular element and carry it through to the other films.
Exactly.
They looked at this entire masterfully created film. Let's take The Dark Knight, for example, with Heath Ledger, who actually won an Oscar
posthumously.
Posthumously. But still, like, even if he was alive, I'm pretty sure he would have won that Oscar anyway.
Correct.
They've looked at it from a one-dimensional perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, the film was dark and broody. And they've taken that, cut it out, cookie cutter, transplanted it into their new films and used that as a core development element when they are developing stories. And it doesn't work.
It really doesn't.
You have to look at so many things when you're constructing a good story.
Yeah.
You have to look at character design, character motivations, the script, how does it read?
Yeah.
The cinematography, how does it look? Does it look unique? Are the characters acting like human beings? Because a big part of superhero movies is making characters humanly relatable.
Yeah.
Humanly relatable. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's something that they are missing at this point in time.
Absolutely. I think a big sort of case study in this regard is Fantastic Four.
Sure.
Where they took the original kind of Fantastic Four, which was released in the mid-2000s, and it was a very fun, popcorny kind of flick. And they added that, literally cookie cutter, they added the darkness and the broodiness into it. And they just completely missed the point in that the story needed to be good. The director, first of all, needed to have a final cut, and they didn't. There were so many things that hindered that progress, but they thought, okay, well, at least it's going to be dark and broody, and it's going to be a nice kind of serious thing. But they're completely forgetting that there are multiple elements to the film. And even Simon Kinberg, who's the producer, said that they weren't creating the Fantastic Four that people know and love, which was, a fun group dynamic. It's just one of those things where it didn't work. And unfortunately, what we got was the Fantastic Four that we saw.
I'm going to paraphrase what one of the guys from one of my favorite podcasts say. This is Jeff Canada from the Slash Filmcast. And he says what makes a lot of the Marvel movies amazing is, and Star Wars movies for that matter as well, is you feel like you want to hang out with those characters.
Correct, yeah.
You want to spend time in their presence, in their universe. And that's that escapism that occurs when you go to the movies.
Exactly.
It's not all about a script that's tight about this and that. It's about those little bits and pieces, in Civil War when Falcon and Bucky are sitting in the car and Bucky's like, can you move your seat forward? And Falcon's like, no. It's like that bro thing, That's also the elements that I think are often missing from other superhero films these days as well.
Yeah, I mean, even look at the Avengers Age of Ultron, that scene where they're trying to lift Thor's hammer. I so much wanted to be in the room when that was happening.
Exactly.
Even though in the room, the scene ends really badly.
Yeah.
But I still wanted to be in that space because those people are really cool people, a nice group of people to hang out with. Think about it. If you watch Batman versus Superman, did you really want to hang out in a room with Superman, Batman, even Wonder Woman? Just like...
Wonder Woman was actually the only...
Wonder Woman was the only...
Like, in terms of, she looks like she was having fun.
Exactly, even though she had, 16 lines in the whole film, but yeah.
We're talking about superhero movies here, but, this happens with other genres as well. And, you brought up the youth dystopian fantasy thing with Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner, and Ender's Game as well.
Yeah.
So, it's this thing where Hollywood just wants to repeat what it's done because it thinks it's found lightning in a bottle. And this leads me to an interesting post written by the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn.
Yeah.
In the wake of Deadpool's release, because Deadpool was a hugely successful film.
Absolutely.
And the interesting thing was that the film is R-rated.
Yeah.
And it was this thing before it was coming out where people were like, whoa, is it going to be as cool as the teasers and the marketing is?
Yeah.
How's this going to turn out? Because an R-rated film is very difficult to market and get money for because most superhero films are nowadays aimed at PG-10, PG-13.
Correct.
To include as big an audience as possible.
Yeah.
Deadpool freaking nailed it. And kids probably snuck into the cinema to watch this movie.
To be honest, parents probably snuck their kids in there to watch the movie. You know what I mean?
So, Deadpool nailed it. Yeah. And in the wake of that, here's just an excerpt from James Gunn's Facebook post, what he has to say about it. So, here's what he says. So, over the next few months, if you pay attention to the trades, you'll see Hollywood misunderstanding the lesson they should be learning from Deadpool. They'll be greenlighting films like Deadpool, inverted commas. But by that, they won't mean good and original, but, inverted commas, a raunchy superhero film. Or, inverted commas, it breaks the fourth wall. They'll treat you like you're stupid, which is the one thing Deadpool didn't do. So, this ties in with Hollywood's originality problem, which is a completely different discussion and something we'll probably tackle in a later episode.
Sure.
But it's this whole thing where Hollywood finds lightning in a bottle and literally makes a photocopy of it.
Yeah.
Then tries to work that photocopy into a completely different film, and it doesn't work because that is not the same film. You know, like there's another issue of this possibly boiling over into diversity issues in Hollywood as well.
Yeah.
Where Hollywood has a typecast.
Yeah.
So you cast your lead as a white male, and then the movie's successful, and then Hollywood distills that down to a one-dimensional thing where it's like, this must be good because we have a white male in our lead role. Let's make all our movies with white males in our lead role.
Exactly.
And that is simply not the case.
It's really not. I mean, you look at what Marvel did with Nick Fury and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
They put a really, really talented actor, a popular actor, as a character who from the comic books was supposed to be white. And they took a gamble on that and really paid off.
Yeah.
And they've been doing that, for years now.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So you kind of need to have some leeway in that regard and figure out what's good for the audience, what's good for the story, and not just be a kind of, well, this is the template and this is what's worked.
Sure.
So let's keep doing that. I mean, we spoke about Daredevil and the whole rated R. We spoke about Deadpool and the whole rated R thing. I heard a few weeks ago that Wolverine, the latest Wolverine movie, is also going to be rated R.
Yeah.
Based purely on the success of Deadpool.
But you think that's going to make it a good film?
No.
I do not.
I don't think so at all. I mean, the Wolverine, the one that was shot a few years ago, I think, and the one about the Japanese kind of story. I mean, I didn't really enjoy that. And if you made it rated R, I don't think I would have enjoyed it anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's a very weird thing. And I understand what you're saying about trying to make it marketable. I think that's why they kind of steered away from that. I mean, you look at Blade Trinity. The Blade series was pretty much the last rated R thing before Deadpool.
Sure.
And now that Deadpool's been really successful, then maybe they're going to think, oh, well, let's make all of our properties R-rated.
Exactly.
And it's just not going to... I don't think it's going to be the case.
Yeah, I think the one way to describe it is it's one-dimensional.
Yeah.
It's they take these couple of elements from the movie and they think that's what will make every movie successful. And it's a stupid way of thinking, and it makes me angry that those are the gatekeepers, those are the people in charge, those are the decision makers who are thinking in that one-dimensional way.
Yeah.
If you want to make a success of things, you need to be more holistic in your approach to things. So that's kind of disappointing that people are thinking that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, another thing is the female reboot.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong here. I'm not on this whole fanboy thing hating on Ghostbusters female reboot. I'm going to check out the film.
Yeah.
What I've seen of the film from a technical standpoint, in terms of the CGI and the toilet humor, it doesn't look that amazing. And I'm more concerned about who's directing the film.
Yeah.
So that's just my take on it. But if you look at this now, it's the Ghostbusters. They've taken that original amazing film and they've just given it an all-female cast.
Yeah. Same with Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11, there's rumors that Kate Blanchett is going to be cast in the Ocean's 11 full female remake.
Yeah.
So
she's probably going to be playing the Danny Ocean role. Danielle Ocean.
So my concern with this is I'm not saying that women shouldn't be given those lead roles.
Yeah.
But I am actually saying that in the sense that those roles shouldn't be remade for women.
Yeah.
We should be getting original properties where we can take female directors with talent, female writers with talent, female actresses with talent.
Yeah.
And give them original work to work on. Or take something that hasn't been adapted yet.
Exactly.
To film. And like a book or a comic book or whatever, and adapt that with female characters. I don't see the point of just automatically adapting everything with all female characters.
Yeah.
I don't see the point of not doing it either, but point of doing it is even more stupid.
I think it's ridiculous in the sense of you're literally just, excuse my language here, swapping penises for vaginas.
Yeah.
It's really terrible. It's like, it's the same thing of like, well, maybe the whole cast is white, so now let's make it black.
Yeah,
let's make the whole cast Mexican.
That's what they actually did in Death at the Funeral.
Exactly, that is literally what they did.
And it was terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Peter Dinklage is the only person who remained the same race in both movies. Well, he appeared in both movies, but literally that was it. Everything else was changed.
That's terrible.
I don't know. It's a weird thing that Hollywood thinks that they can do and just take an existing property and switch it in a way that they think is going to replicate the same success, and it's not going to happen. I mean, when I hear about films like Memento getting remade,
Oh my word.
and Memento came out in I think 1999, 2000, by Christopher Nolan.
Yep.
And
it's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece. Why are you remaking it?
No idea.
I don't understand.
And then you get other films that were also remade. I mean, we're talking about reshoots for including, like, changing the tone of the film.
Yeah.
We're talking about reboots or remakes
Yeah.
as well. Like Old Boy, for example,
Oh,
which was disgustingly terrible.
yeah.
Amazing Korean film which you should check out.
Yeah.
Adapted by Spike Lee.
Yeah.
Starring Josh Brolin and one of the most talented South African actors, Sharlto Copley.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't come close to the original.
Exactly.
And
Same
then
with Total Recall as well.
Total Recall, oh,
Yeah.
damn, son. Let's not even go there.
Let's not even go to Total Recall. It's just one of those things where you can't just assume that because it had success before, it will have it again, even though we'll alter it slightly, or we'll change the color of the cast, or we'll make them women, or we kept a certain element of it, so now it's just going to be a home run. It's not always the case.
Yeah.
And also, we're missing the bigger issue, which is the lack of originality. And we'll get to that at a later stage, but we need to be coming up with new content. There are a lot of talented screenwriters out there.
Sure.
I mean, you can just look at the blacklist of scripts that haven't been produced, and there's such a lot of original content in there. We can't keep beating a dead horse. Not that these movies are, by any means of imagination, bad films. Why would they be getting remade if they were? But at the same point, just let it be. Let it be the classic that it is, and give it time.
Sure. I think that kind of exhausts our discussion for this month. Yeah, so Dean, where can people find you on the interwebs?
So you can find me on Twitter at Deno15, DEENO15, and obviously I'll be posting on our blog as well. So check that out, btglifestyle.com.
Cool. You can catch both of us curating content on Twitter at BTG Lifestyle. You can also catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/BTG Lifestyle. And you can catch me personally on Twitter at The Snagel. That's THESNAGEL. Thanks for joining us for this, the 5th episode of the BTG MovieCast, and we'll see you guys next month.
Cheers.
Dodge this.
This is Sparta!
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
Say hello to my little friend! Say what again?
I want to make him an offer.